for the top 4 picks in the draft and $70,000 for the rest of the round 1 selections. In subsequent tweets, Alyssa tells us that the average starting salary for first-round NBA draft picks is $10 million a year by comparison. She says that this contrast is, quote, honestly devastating.
The WNBA world, usually a quieter corner of the sports universe, found itself in a whirlwind recently. This storm wasn't due to a game-winning shot or a record-breaking performance, but something entirely different. A verbal firestorm ignited by none other than Matt Walsh. Known for his controversial takes, Walsh recently took a stand that threw a massive spotlight on the WNBA, and for reasons the players and fans likely didn't appreciate. His declaration: WNBA players, in his view, are grossly overpaid. He backed this claim with statistics, numbers, and comparisons to other sports. And that was enough to light a fuse that sent the WNBA community into a frenzy. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. At first glance, Walsh's opinion might not seem like it would rock the boat. After all, everyone's entitled to their thoughts, right? But there was something about the way Walsh laid down his points, a certain confidence, that pushed the players into reaction mode. He didn't just suggest the WNBA should reconsider its pay structure. He used numbers in such a way that left little room for argument. It wasn't just his opinion he was stating. He seemed to think he was unveiling an obvious truth, and this was more than enough to make some players see red. The WNBA players didn't take the criticism quietly. They took to social media, the most accessible battleground, with fierce and impassioned responses. Tweets flew back and forth with players clapping back, retweeting, and adding their own fiery rebuttals. Some even brought humor into their responses, attempting to downplay his analysis by pointing out his lack of experience in the world of sports. Others, however, weren't laughing. They felt that Walsh's take went beyond opinion and landed in territory that felt disrespectful. One player after another voiced frustration. They felt that they were being misunderstood, that Walsh and anyone backing his perspective just didn't get the WNBA's significance. The anger and indignation were palpable. They argued that Walsh's viewpoint overlooked the hard work, dedication, and years of training that went into making it to the league. To the players, this wasn't just about paychecks. It was about recognition and respect for the game they loved. Interestingly, many of the WNBA players argued that it wasn't just about the money for them. They reminded the public that they play because of their passion for the game and their desire to inspire the next generation of female athletes. It's true that the WNBA doesn't have the same mass following as the NBA or other men's sports leagues, but for these players, that only meant they played with an extra sense of purpose. Their response wasn't simply an emotional reaction to someone criticizing their salary, but a plea to be seen as athletes, as individuals who sacrificed and trained for their careers just as hard as anyone else. Matt Walsh's argument touched on what he claimed was a misalignment between the revenue the WNBA generates and the salaries the players receive. He presented his point with the bluntness he's known for, breaking down what he believed to be the league's lack of profitability, and implying that the players' pay didn't reflect the actual value they brought in. According to him, the revenue numbers told the whole story, and they just didn't justify the salaries WNBA players earned. For Walsh, the numbers were cold, factual indicators, leaving no room for interpretation. The players saw things differently. For them, the discussion wasn't as black and white as Walsh portrayed it. In their eyes, the WNBA's struggle to draw in huge numbers wasn't just because of the product on the court, but due to the lack of investment and media attention the league received compared to the NBA. They felt they were up against a system that didn't give them a fair shot at success. Many WNBA athletes argued that if they received even a fraction of the attention and promotional budget that the NBA did, the story might look a lot different. What followed was a deluge of players calling out the double standards they felt were at play. They pointed out how men's sports often benefit from large media contracts and sponsorship deals that women's sports don't receive on the same scale. The disparity, they argued, was structural and deeply ingrained, not a reflection of their talent or effort. They questioned why they were being held to the same revenue standards as the NBA without receiving the same support. But what made this moment truly intense wasn't just the words exchanged. It was the sheer determination and unity displayed by the players. Many joined in on each other's posts, adding commentary and amplifying each other's voices. Their responses varied from humorously sarcastic quips to more serious takes that highlighted how the debate around women's sports has always been steeped in controversy in comparison to men's leagues. Walsh's comments may have been the trigger, but the players had years of pent-up frustration, and this was their moment to let it all out. In between the serious comments, there were moments of humor and irony that showed the players weren't taking themselves too seriously. Some players joked about Walsh's qualifications or lack thereof in judging a professional sports league, while others turned the spotlight back on the disparities that exist within sports journalism. This lightheartedness didn't undercut their argument. Rather, it added a layer of relatability to the response, as if they were saying, "Yes, we're frustrated, but we're not going to let this ruin our day." And so the conversation raged on, with Walsh staying mostly silent after his initial commentary. His silence was another topic of discussion for the players, who questioned why he hadn't engaged further. Some felt that he'd made his point and had no need to continue, while others speculated that the collective backlash was enough to make even someone as bold as Walsh think twice before diving back in. Either way, the absence of a follow-up from him only fueled the players' resolve. The implications of this clash were significant. It wasn't just about whether WNBA players were overpaid or underappreciated. It was about the larger conversation regarding the value of women's sports. The players wanted their audience to understand that they weren't asking to be treated exactly like NBA players, but to be given a fair chance to succeed. They argued that if the playing field were evened, the league might naturally grow, and the numbers Walsh pointed to could eventually match up with his expectations. They weren't looking for charity but rather for equal opportunity. This entire episode also sparked discussions outside of the WNBA. Fans, commentators, and even casual viewers found themselves pulled into the debate. The comment sections on various social media platforms turned into battlegrounds where supporters and critics of Walsh's viewpoint debated endlessly. Some argued that the WNBA needed to face harsh economic realities, while others took up the mantle of defending the players, saying they deserved more respect. The players' responses to Walsh didn't just serve as rebuttals to his points. They became rallying cries for others who felt similarly overlooked or undervalued in their fields. Women in different industries began sharing their own experiences with pay disparity, and before long, the conversation stretched beyond sports. Walsh's comments had inadvertently struck a chord that resonated far outside his intended scope. As the days went by, the WNBA players continued with their schedules, but it was clear this event had left its mark. The league had found itself the subject of an unexpected spotlight, and while the debate wasn't always positive, it was undeniably a chance for them to tell their side of the story. They had been given a platform, albeit under unusual circumstances, to voice frustrations that had been bubbling under the surface for years. This was their moment to address not just Walsh, but anyone who questioned their place and value in professional sports. Looking at the situation as a whole, it became evident that the WNBA players were fighting for more than just a paycheck. They were pushing back against a perspective that sought to reduce their worth to numbers and statistics, challenging the notion that profitability alone dictated their value. For them, this was a battle for respect, recognition, and the right to exist in a space they loved. It wasn't simply about money, but about securing a legacy and inspiring future generations. Walsh's comments, intentionally or not, had opened a Pandora's box of issues surrounding women's sports and the broader sports industry. The players had been given a unique chance to articulate the struggles and frustrations they'd faced, and they seized it. Through humor, anger, and a fierce sense of unity, they made it clear that they weren't willing to stay silent when someone questioned their dedication and worth. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.